welcome back to my station Facts Fan, where we talk about family and consumer sciences and life skills. Today we're going to start our cooking unit, and I'm going to be talking about how to read a recipe, what's on a recipe, and how to measure ingredients correctly. Alright, so what is a recipe? A recipe is a set of directions that tells you how to make a specific food. What's included in a recipe? It includes the name of the recipe, the yield or servings or how many people it serves. Sometimes it also says prep time, bake time, oven temp right on the top there. Then it goes into a list of the ingredients needed and how much, a list of directions and equipment that you need, and also sometimes recipes have a picture and nutritional information. Another thing that you should know about recipes is they use common abbreviations for the amount of ingredients and the measurement tools used. So, for example, teaspoon is usually TSP or small t, tablespoon is TBSP or uppercase T, cup is C, pint is PT, quart is QT, gallon is GAL, ounce is OZ, and pound is LB. There are a number of reasons why it's important to read a recipe before you start cooking or baking. Number one, to make sure you have all the ingredients, to make sure you have the time necessary and the skills necessary to create the recipe, make sure you have all the equipment needed, make sure there are no food allergy concerns, and to see how many servings the recipe makes, just in case you need to double the recipe or cut the recipe in half as needed. When it comes to measuring ingredients for baking or cooking recipes, usually you use three different tools. Measuring spoons are used to measure both liquid and dry ingredients. Dry measuring cups are used to measure dry and solid ingredients only, and a liquid measuring cup is used to measure liquid ingredients only. Alright, so measuring cups and measuring spoons usually come in four standard sizes, and they include for measuring spoons, 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon, and 1/4 teaspoon. For measuring cups, the four standard sizes are 1 cup, 1/2 cup, 1/3 cup, and 1/4 cup, although some sets do come with a 3/4 cup and possibly a 2/3 cup as well. Alright, so for the first type of ingredients that I want to talk about measuring correctly are liquid ingredients. So liquid ingredients could include milk, oil, water, juice, vanilla extract, anything that's pourable. So for bigger amounts, you're going to want to use a liquid measuring cup. And for smaller amounts, like you're measuring vanilla extract, for example, you're going to use the measuring spoons. Alright, so as you can see, there are already markings and measurements on the liquid measuring cup. You're just going to fill the cup to the line that you need. So the key to using a liquid measuring cup is to set it on a flat surface and read it at eye level so that you can see when it comes to the correct line and it's going to stay level. So for example, if I'm going to pour this milk and measure 1/4 cup, just going to fill it until it gets to the 1/4 line. Alright, so the next type of ingredient that I want to talk about measuring is dry ingredients. So the most common dry ingredient that people measure incorrectly is actually flour. So with flour, you don't want flour to be packed into the measuring cup. So if flour has been sitting around for a little while, the first thing you're going to want to do is stir it so that it gets nice and light and airy again. And then you're going to spoon the flour into the cup. So it's heaping over. And then you're going to want to take some kind of straight edge like a metal spatula or a butter knife if it has a straight back, and run that along the top and level the flour. Never ever just dip the cup straight into the flour because it is going to pack it down and you're going to end up with 25% or less more flour than you originally wanted. So be very careful when you're measuring flour and keep it nice and light and airy. Alright, so sugar is actually easier to measure since you don't have to worry about packing it down. So with sugar, you can just dip the cup right in there and still level it with a straight edge or a metal spatula. And that's how it's done. As far as other dry ingredients goes, with brown sugar, you actually are going to pack that into the measuring cup. So you're going to take some brown sugar at a time and use a spoon to pack it down into the measuring cup. Just keep adding more and packing it down until it's heaping over. And then once you're done, you're still going to use straight edge, level that off. And you'll know that you measured it correctly because once you put it down, it will keep its shape just like a little sandcastle. Alright, so if you're measuring smaller amounts of ingredients such as salt, cinnamon, baking soda, baking powder, vinegar, or vanilla, you're going to be using, again, the measuring spoons. So with measuring spoons, it's pretty easy to measure the dry ingredients with measuring spoons. You're still just going to dip the spoon in there and level it with a straight edge again. Okay, pretty easy. Same thing goes with the other ingredients here. Just gonna measure them, level them over top of the canisters. But with vanilla, you're going to fill the measuring spoon with the vanilla or the liquid until there's a slight dome on top. But make sure you measure that over a separate bowl than the bowl you're using for your ingredients, just in case you spill over and get too much into the bowl that you're using. Alright, so sometimes when we're cooking and baking, we also need to measure solid ingredients. Solid ingredients could include things like butter or margarine, shortening, peanut butter, pretty much anything that keeps its shape. So for those, you're actually going to use the dry measuring cups to measure the solid ingredients. So the cool thing about butter is it already has markings on it so you know where to cut into the butter and you don't have to use a dry measuring cup to measure it. So 1 stick of butter is half a cup of butter or 8 tablespoons of butter. So when you're ready to cut into the butter as far as how much you need, you just cut right into the butter in the paper where the measurement is that you need. So that's the cool thing about butter. If you're measuring something like shortening or peanut butter, then you are going to use the dry measuring cup. So you're going to need a rubber scraper. You're going to use the rubber scraper to get the ingredient out of the container and then use it to press it into the measuring cup. Just keep doing that until it's full. Okay, and once it's full enough, we'll pretend it is. Then again, you're going to need a straight edge, level it on top, get any excess off, and then you're going to use your rubber scraper to go around the edge and scrape it out right into your bowl that you're using for your ingredients. Alright, so let's talk about some small equipment that might be listed in a recipe. So these are called metal spatulas. They can come in different sizes. They're usually used to spread butter or frosting or other things on recipes, or they can be used to level ingredients when you're measuring them. This is a rubber scraper. You've got a pastry brush, which is used to brush on melted butter or other things like rubs on meat when you're grilling. This is a meat tenderizer. These are wire whisks. We got a wooden spoon and a slotted metal spoon. We got a ladle, usually for soups or sauces. This is a vegetable peeler. We got tongs. A lot of people like to call this a spatula, but this is a turner. It's used to turn things over, which is why it's a turner. Then a lot of you should know what this is. This is a rolling pin. And then we have a grater, which has different sides to it. And this is a sifter. Alright, so for some of the bigger pieces of equipment that you're going to need to use, as far as knowing the names when you're cooking or baking, this is a sauce pot, and this is a saute pan. We've got mixing bowls, which could be glass or ceramic or metal. We've got these, which a lot of people get wrong. These are called colanders. And this is called a strainer. Strainers have a finer mesh, kind of like a screen in a window. And then we have a loaf pan, pie plate. You should know this one. This is a muffin pan or muffin tin. And this one's easy too. A cookie sheet and a hand mixer. Alright, so as far as cooking terms go, I'm actually going to send you a separate list of cooking terms that you should know and what they mean when you read a recipe so that you aren't confused and your recipe comes out much better.
So I will send you that list. All right, one more thing that I want to talk about is some basic equivalents that a lot of cooks and bakers know. So one thing that you should probably know for the future is that 1 tablespoon equals 3 teaspoons. This comes in handy, especially if you don't have a half a tablespoon, because then 1.5 teaspoons would be half a tablespoon. Another thing you should know is that 4 tablespoons is equal to 1/4 cup. So that if you need 1/8 cup, you know that there's 2 tablespoons in 1/8 cup. So those are some basic equivalents that are helpful to know.
All right, everyone, that's it for today. Hopefully you learned a lot or that this was a good review for you. So thank you for watching again and have a great day.